Good afternoon, traders. This is Christian from Traffic Trade Group, and this is your end-of-day market recap for Monday, September 9th. Risk disclaimer in front of you. Everything that we're going through is for information purposes only, not giving out any advice or recommendations. Everything that we're going through is for information purposes only. So my goal is to give you a quick glimpse of the market for the day and talk about a couple things to watch and talk about where there was a little bit of strength today and yeah, kind of what to watch for the rest of the week. So let's start with just looking at some of the macro moves today. TLT gaining a little bit more. Just keep in mind. So one of the things to watch for this week is we're going to have 3 bond auctions this week. And what I've noticed is that bonds can be a little bit weaker when there's new supply coming onto the market. We've seen some really nice price action and movement out of the bonds. If you felt like you wanted to get into the bonds and you want to see you want to be get in on a little bit more of a dip, this might be the week for you to do it, because we have tomorrow, we've got the 3-year bond auction. So that's something for tomorrow, because we've got a pretty light calendar for tomorrow. And then also on Wednesday, you get the 10-year bond auction, and then on Thursday, the 30-year bond auction. So there were no bond auctions last week. This week you get 3, and that's how they've been kind of working. Is it's every other week there are bond auctions. And again, what I've noticed that on the weeks where you've got new supply coming on, the bond prices can be a little bit weaker or a little bit softer. So, but nice move up. And I want to cover one area that does pretty well with the when bond prices go up. So the VIX was down huge today, down 13%, right? That's a big move lower. And that takes us to, where are we in the VIX? We are, that's the wrong screen. We're back below 20. So that psychological level of 20, right now we're at 1945. And like I said, a pretty decent move down. One other thing that was kind of interesting today was Bitcoin. Bitcoin was up almost 5%, was it? No, actually a little bit more than that, 6.5%. So, let's go to the Bitcoin chart. We'll do something different in the video, but we'll talk about Bitcoin first. I don't know if this is anything really to kind of work off of. Let's see, bring this back up here. All right, there's the right screen. Price gets back into the bottom of the September value area. So it's a start. It's not breaking down and, kind of held where it needed to. Sometimes there's a little bit of an overshoot that we see, right? Sometimes we're watching a support level and we break through it, and the next day we manage to maintain that. You're going to see that in a couple other places. But would I go long Bitcoin here? It really depends on what your time frame is and what your level of conviction or bullishness is. But you could go long if you wanted a starting point versus that bottom of value 56,200. Remember, this September value area is based on all of August's level of activity, and it's kind of a starting point to kind of get back into its value area. Moving on, let's talk a little bit about, we'll just bring up SPY for now, but you're going to see these in all of the indices, which is basically what you're looking at here is an inside day. So meaning an inside day is just, right inside the body of the previous candle, and no change in trend, right? So there's nothing majorly changing here in the trend, but obviously you got a bit of a bounce today. So could it be a starting point for a move back to the upside? It could, but you're being that we fell so hard below this 5-day moving average, that's why I would say let's see what we do tomorrow, as well as the rest of the week. But for now, it's an inside day, and if you were playing a bounce, if you bought the close on Friday, you were rewarded for that today. All right, now you're not so. Being that we can't really determine much technically, because we're still below the 5-period moving average, which is what I would want to see, and the 50 and the 20-day moving average, right? You can't really hang your hat on any of those. So sometimes we look for clues for direction based on that, what the 1 hour chart is doing. And so here's the VPOC that we pointed out Friday, and I talked about this a little bit in Friday's video, that we did take down some on Friday. We took down some we went down and took out some downside levels. So that VPOC was one of them. And we did a little bit of an overshoot in the after hours market. Again, I had brought this up, and I said I didn't think that was a big concern, that we were going lower in the after hours market. I didn't think that we were going to bottom on Friday. Markets don't usually do that, but here you go. So we got a movement inside the value area for the week, and if you want a short-term trade, you could go long versus 545, and that's basically what I did today. Right, I had tried this in here, and price action was a little sloppy, so I had tried it again, and I'm long, and it's about a 1.4% move higher to get to the top of value. And this is when this is lit up in green, you've got the bullish 80% rule going on, and that means, of course, when you start a value area either below or above, there's an 80% chance that it will play out from one side to the other. So being that we broke into the bottom of the value area, this is an 80% chance that we go through to the top of value. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, you can Google Google the 80% rule for value areas. And I didn't make that up. It's value area studies, and we're just drawing that conclusion forward. A lot of that bullish bearish 80% rule came with just using S&P futures on a 5-minute bar. We move that forward until for the hourly, which covers the whole week, and the daily when it happens for the month. But so we've got the bullish 80% rule going on here, and in this way, it's a very low risk setup. I'll take the trade off if it breaks back below the value area. All right, so that's SPY, and that's kind of what I'm looking for. And when you look at the rest of the calendar, I mentioned with bond auctions, but we don't really have anything tomorrow except for small business optimism, and then you'll get the CPI report on you'll get the CPI report on Wednesday, and then the PPI report on Thursday. Those are the main events for the week, and I believe the Fed speakers are now in a quiet period until next week's Fed meeting, which is on Wednesday. So we don't have to worry about them, and maybe with a little bit less noise, prices can kind of retrace a little bit of the move that we saw from last week. Let's do the same exercise here for the Qs. You had the Apple event today, and I don't know if we really learned anything that wonderful. I'll let the Apple critics or analysts kind of cover that one more in detail. But the Qs, just simply same thing, inside day, right? And notice where we went down to on Friday, right to the bottom of the value area. It's 448.16, and we held, right? So we on the first try of support, price held and bounced. Now again, we have there's no jumping up and down here and saying, oh my God, this is great. There's more work to do for price to kind of get out of this short-term downtrend, right? That 5-period moving average is great for watching that, right? For confirmation purposes. Here also, all day long, price tried, well, I don't want to say all day long, but a couple times today, price tried to get into its value area for the week, right? That's 445.03, and we closed right inside there. So a little bit of a positive. We'll see what we do in the after hours, but we made some progress. Whether or not we break further in and trigger that also the bullish 80% rule like we have for the S&P remains to be seen. So you have to wait a little bit to see that. IWM, not quite as much of a movement, or I guess the IWM was up over 1%. I glanced and saw it today, but it kind of stalled out here a little bit. So finished up on the day, but only 30 basis points. So not that big of a move. And the bearish 80% rule is still in effect for the month, right? Because we started the month up here, we broke inside value, and that's what's going on there. The 1 hour chart also, this is still bearish 80% rule from the daily, and price was not able to make it in. Now, what has been, and I'm not sure if this is going to be the same relationship for what we're going to get on Wednesday and Thursday, but IWM has been much more sensitive to inflation data. So maybe IWM is waiting for that for more of a bigger move. All right, that's the indices. I mentioned TLT. and bonds, just to kind of look at what we're doing here. You know, there's a little bit of a reversal bar that happened there in TLT on Friday. But as long as we don't lose the 5-period moving average, there's no technical damage done in terms of the short-term trend. So I'll just kind of go right to here's our watch list for the weekend that I put together. You could see a lot of good movements here that happened, and I really try to structure this towards areas that I thought most of these names are in uptrends, but names that held up pretty well last week, or that are just falling into support. So JP Morgan, nothing changing here as well in terms of the short-term trend, but it did bounce off this trend line as well as the 50-day moving average. Again, has more work to do, but that could be a start and really needs to claim that 5-period moving average. ONON, this is a name that I went long on Friday. I was able to take a target right on the open. So that's good. And I thought that this also is holding up pretty well. I think you just kind of have to be patient here, and let's, as long as it holds this 44.08 level, which is the top of value. But I really like this chart setup. It just has to kind of do its thing. And I'm patient, and or at least trying to be patient. GEV is another name too, right? That look at how well it held up last week. Didn't see any volatility except some decent back-to-back movement that happened, and I think this did close at new highs. So again, really nice relative strength. Another name that I thought that's trying as well is this Howmet Aerospace. I'm trying to turn up here. LMT also had another good day, a little bit weak. I actually got rid of my trading position last week, and I was just afraid that too many of these things that have run up a little bit started to see profit taking, but not bad. Moves back to new highs. GoDaddy, I actually started a position in this one. I've been watching this one for a while. It just closed right at the bottom of value. Really, it's got to hold the 50-day moving average for me, but I like the test of the 50. It just has to hold it, right? So I think another nice risk to reward trade. I'm not going to go through all these names. I'll go through a couple other, but CAVA, I think this is best in breed right now for the restaurants. Notice this one right back above the value area. So very little damage, technical damage in some of these names. One last group that I'm going to cover with you is the home building group. I'm going to keep an eye on this one and alert at 118.60, right, to see if this can kind of turn higher. I mentioned in the beginning of this video that I would cover a group that when interest rates go down, as we've been seeing across the curve, just not the short-term rate yet. But nevertheless, we're seeing interest rates go down. Maybe that will bring out some mobility in the home builders for buying and selling. 118.60. Another name that I'm watching, which I put on the watch list this morning, is Zillow. Right. I think just movement in the real estate market should help Zillow, but still below this 20-day moving average. So another name to keep on your radar. All right, guys, that is it. So again, possibly, the start of a bigger move. Today is just a bounce, so I wouldn't fall in love with today's price action. I think there's levels to watch, and the main thing is with the September markets, because they are traditionally tricky. If we start to break back below, for instance, the S&P value area, right, then you just make adjustments and kind of bail on some trades, and and be conservative and just understand what you're dealing with in this month of September. That's it for me. Have a great night. See you tomorrow, hopefully in the trading room.